Welcome to Bloodbath & Beyond. Today we review The Voices. Hearing voices can be murder.
Directed by Marjane Satrapi, starring Ryan Reynolds, Anna Kendrick, and Gemma Arterton. This movie's about Jerry. He's an awkward guy who starts hearing voices in his head that tells him to do some fairly bad things. I guess he starts in madness and descends into murder. This is a recommendation from Patreon from one of our top donators, the Morphew, who has just entered the Diamond Lounge alongside Deke. And the first request is The Voices. He's actually recommended this in like other threads for a long ass time because he likes Anna Kendrick and Cats. And he said you can't go wrong with both. And I happen to agree with him. I'm a big Pitch Perfect fan. And I happen to like Cats as well. John's allergic.
Yeah, and I don't like cats, but I do like Anna Kendrick. Mike and Dave need dates for a wedding. With your other, isn't that with Aubrey Plaza too?
Oh yeah, my two loves.
And my other two loves.
Who are your two loves?
Adam and Zach.
Oh, Zac Efron and Adam Devine?
Yeah, great movie.
We're gonna try and keep this pretty spoiler free, but we have to expose at least the first kill that happens in the movie, which does take its time to get into, but it's really important to the entire plot of the film. So what do we like? Ryan Reynolds.
He fits the bill perfectly. Like, he does a fantastic job providing like the comedic relief, but also that like awkward serial killer like motive style.
At first this movie's pretty light and comedic.
You have the greatest hair, Tom. In the back. It's awesome.
And it progressively gets darker and darker throughout the entire film. And watching Ryan Reynolds' character shift between what's in his head, because obviously he's talking to voices in his head in the form of cats, dogs, and the head of somebody he's murdered. Just seeing him have these mental struggles throughout the film is really good.
You wanted to kill her.
Never.
Why'd you take the knife then?
Oh my God.
Like, he's good at shifting gears from being funny, awkward, and then extremely intense.
Strangely enough, you feel sympathy for him because when you get into his backstory and how this all came to be and like why he hears the voices in his head, you're just like, oh my God, like it's not your fault. This is just a series of bad events that have led to like this terrible result. It's weird when you feel sympathy for your killer in this movie, and like I felt sympathy for Ryan Reynolds. You kind of just feel bad for the guy, and the film just provides you with like total investment in characters.
I was a big fan of all of the other characters as well. Anna Kendrick, obviously a massive highlight because she's like the most adorable. She loves this guy, and he's totally invested in Fiona and basically ignores her.
Hi, Jerry. I'm Lisa, accounts receivable.
He eventually shifts gears because he accidentally kills Fiona, but then there's the problem of Mr. Whiskers, the little bastard cat, who is hilarious, by the way.
The cat was nowhere near when you killed me, Jerry.
See? Thank you, Ladyhead.
Both him and Fiona's head are trying to convince Jerry that Fiona needs a friend and that he needs to kill Lisa, Anna Kendrick's character.
Can you get me a friend?
A friend?
I get so lonely in the fridge.
And you're like, please don't. She's so nice. All she wants to do is be friends with this guy. Or like more than that. I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds. Of course you do.
Are you good with cats?
No, the real question is, are cats good with me? Because they pretty much own us, not the other way around.
Another thing about, like, we're just praising Ryan Reynolds here, but Mr. Whiskers and Bosco, he did the voices.
Shut up, cat. She's from England, Jerry. In her eyes, you're a ridiculous peasant.
If anyone can pull off the best Gary Busey impression, I'm gonna say it's Ryan Reynolds.
You're a good man who made a mistake. Nobody is gonna rape you, Jerry.
If you have animals, you're always talking to them and you're hoping they talk back. And in his case, it's a dream come true almost. But at the same time, they act just like you think cats and dogs act.
Did you hear that? I earned the right to be called a good boy. You earned the right to be hit by a minivan.
When you're looking at like the cinematography and like the aesthetics of this film, they do a fantastic job showing a difference between what Ryan Reynolds sees and what reality actually is. When Ryan Reynolds doesn't take his pills, everything's all like shiny and bright and colorful, and like he's so happy with the world around him. But when he does take his pills, all of a sudden you see the reality.
You totally stopped taking the pills, didn't you?
Don't.
And there's a complete tonal shift of the movie, and you're like, oh my God, there's blood dripping off of his counter, there's a fucking head on his table, and there are chopped up body parts in Tupperware all over his apartment, as well as just garbage. What we thought was like a fun, happy, awkward guy, but likable nonetheless, and then you realize we've been in the same mind frame as him this whole time. So it's just really good at portraying like these different alternate realities.
Pretty complicated inside the human mind, huh?
Once you realize everything that we've seen up until this point is just a figment of Ryan Reynolds' imagination, you start to like worry, like if people are gonna come to his house, like if Anna Kendrick is gonna come over, you're like terrified, like don't go to that house, and you're like anxious because you don't want them to get hurt and you don't want Ryan Reynolds to get caught.
This movie is anxiety inducing. Even before he was murdering people, just from him being awkward, we were just like, oh no, don't ask her on a date, she doesn't like you or she's gonna shut you down. And that this was a really well done movie as far as just like controlling the audience's like mind. Now, what didn't we like? If anything, you could say this movie was a little bit long-winded. It's slightly longer than usual, but because you're switching between different emotions of Jerry, it's to be expected. But there are a few moments that just overstayed their welcome with intent, but I can see some people getting bored at times. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. The Voices is a fantastic movie. The entire cast absolutely kills it, but seeing Ryan Reynolds go through all of these different emotions and back and forth is very impressive, especially going back to this after watching him in Deadpool and funnier movies. Even though like I saw Waiting years before this, his character, it's like a young Ryan Reynolds, but then it gets twisted and awkward, and just the way that the whole film flows and the revealing of certain aspects is great. Anna Kendrick is amazing, and the talking animals is hilarious as well. I like that, seeing their little mouths move, so of course I'm gonna like this. So I'm gonna give this 4.5 conga lines out of 5.
I had an absolute blast watching this film. Not just because like it's a Ryan Reynolds film, he's only been in great stuff. From like Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, all the way to the Deadpool 2. We'll just throw that one on there, or the Hitman's Bodyguard. He's an actor who will just hop into a role, and regardless of how like out of character it may seem, he'll nail it. But like he also had a strong supporting cast around him. Like Anna Kendrick was great. Every single one of these actors did a great job to help play off of whether it was the cheerful nature or the awkwardness of Ryan Reynolds. You really felt that you were just invested in everyone, and I was invested in this movie. Plus, the talking animals had a little Dr. Dolittle thing going on, and I thought that was a nice touch. Bosco is way cooler than Mr. Whiskers.
Bullshit.
Go choke on a hairball. God hate us.
If you haven't seen this movie or haven't even heard about this movie, I definitely would recommend checking it out. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 4.5 spectacular shows out of 5.
More than just a show, the best spectacle in the world.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.